The Arizona Wildcats win this game against the Washington State Cougars. Final score: Arizona Wildcats 90 to the Washington State Cougars 66. Um, the thing that I noticed, there was not really a whole lot of difference as far as uh, so a lot of the stats that I saw. The the shooting percentage for the Washington State Huskies, they shot 50% in the first half, but then the second half, then they shot 40%. So they ended up with 45%, and the Arizona Wildcats shot um, 50, 56% or 55% in total. So, um, like I said, the things that I saw weren't really that much of a difference. Um, I mean, if you look at Washington State, Hawkinson, um, he shot, well, I think it was 6 for 12, so he did really nicely. He shot very nicely. He's 50%. And then um, Irebu, he shot 50% also, I think, 5 for 10 or something like that. So um, their biggest scorers, actually, I think it was Irebu that had 13 points total, and then Hawkinson had 12 points total. So their biggest score, those were their biggest scorers, was 13 points and 12 points. So they didn't really have huge scores, but uh, it was more what I saw more. And well, Hawkinson's is a forward, and then Rebu is a guard. Um, so what I saw mostly is it was forwards that were having a difficult time trying to contain Hawkinson, because there was 6 total defensive breakdowns against trying to defend against Hawkinson. Um, Anderson had 2 defensive breakdowns against Hawkinson, and then also and then Tarczewski had 2 defensive breakdowns against Hawkinson. Ristic only had 1 defensive breakdown against Hawkinson, but he wasn't on Hawkinson a lot of the game. I think it was mostly Tarczewski, and it was mostly Anderson. Um, I think in the beginning, Sean Miller might have put um, Anderson on Hawkinson just for grins and giggles, just to see how it would work out. But Hawkinson didn't really seem to phase Hawkinson too much. Hawkinson, I think, is 6'10", so we needed to get someone a little bit taller, because I think Ryan Anderson is 6'9", so that was close. But then Tarczewski's 7 foot, so it was a little bit better having a defender a little bit taller than Hawkinson, and that's why Tarczewski was able to contain Hawkinson a little bit better. Irebu, the guard, he was defended by York. I think York, Irebu had 4 I think it was 4 total defensive breakdowns where people against trying to defend against Irebu, and Irebu made those shots. And I think York had 2 defensive breakdowns against Irebu, and I think Kadeem Allen had 2 defensive breakdowns against Irebu. Irebu's he's a good player, and it was just one of the really difficult things is whenever you get the guards they're trying to get through on-screen, on-ball, um, or on-screen picks, I think is what they call. And the guards are trying, the defenders are trying to break through and trying to stay on they're they're trying to stay on the person they're guarding in Rebu in this situation, and um, it was just so difficult to stick on Rebu if there was, like, for example, Hawkinson or um, another one with Clifford. Clifford is, I think, is 7 foot. He is 7 foot for the Washington State Huskies or Washington State Cougars. But so we had those guys, those big guys, the big forwards and centers were trying to, trying to set those picks so that the guards would be unable to stop Arebu, and it worked. It worked some of the time, but the thing about it is there was a lot of distribution between the Arizona Wildcats as far as there was, I think, 18 assists for the Arizona Wildcats. 7 of those assists were from um, Parker Jackson-Cartwright, so he did really nicely. Parker Jackson-Cartwright did have a hard time against Callison, though. Parker Jackson-Cartwright had 3 defensive breakdowns against Callison, so hopefully he can do better. Hopefully Parker Jackson-Cartwright can do a little bit better against Callison the next time that we have to play them, if we do have to play them again. So Parker Jackson-Cartwright had 7 assists. As far as the person that had the most assists for Washington State, it was kind of interesting. It was Nye. I think it was Nye. What was his last name? Oh, Redding. Nye Redding for the Washington State Huskies, or Washington State Cougars. I'm sorry about that. So Nye Redding had 4 assists, and the rest, the most assists that anyone else had was like 1. I think even Hawkinson, I think he had 1, and Rebu had 1 also, and so that was kind of interesting. Just for grins and giggles, I wanted to see who was defending against Nye Redding, and I noticed that Simon was defending against Nye Redding a little bit, but I didn't see a lot of Nye Redding's whenever he was playing. So you got to keep an eye on the person that has the most amount of assists. You got to make sure and defend the heck out of them so that they don't get so they're too preoccupied and not able to concentrate on their pass, making nice and crisp passes to their players. Let's see, anything else? Well, I noticed in this game that it was difficult because Ryan Anderson had 5 defensive breakdowns, and that's unusual for Ryan Anderson. Ryan Anderson usually doesn't have 5 defensive breakdowns, so like I said, 2 of them were from Hawkinson, so it was just kind of strange. But then at the same time, I saw some really nice dunks and stuff from Ryan Anderson. So some days are good, some days are bad. I mean, Kadeem Allen only had 2 assists in this game, as compared to Parker Jackson-Cartwright, which had 7. So some days are good, some games are bad for the players. 3 for 6, 3-point land from Gabe York, so that was really nice. And also 3 for 4 from Dogger Jackson-Cartwright, which is really nice to see him knock down 3-pointers, because he's not usually known for his 3-pointers because he's a good shooter, Miller said, but for some reason in the games he just wasn't able to knock them down. But he did today. He knocked them down pretty good. Anyway, got to work on trying to defend against Hawkinson, and got to work on trying to defend against Rebu, the guard and the forward, for next time. The Arizona Wildcats win this game against the Washington State Cougars. Final score: Arizona Wildcats 90 to the Washington State Cougars 66.